killing everybody in that house, man. Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Give me that mask. Everybody in that house, man. I'm killing everybody in that house, man. Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Give me that mask, man. Thank you.
Stay down, stay down.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back. Don't move. Don't move. Chill out, man. Don't move, all right, man? Just don't move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That was a full-fledged, ongoing murder.
Hey, take your mask off.
One male in custody.
In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Tell me better to me. Look. Look. Look.
Antifa. I'm not a member of anything. Honestly, I hate to say it, but I see a civil war right around the corner. But I see a civil war right around the corner. That shot felt like the beginning of a war.
On the tow truck.
Tell me better not to me.
I'm gonna
I can't take your
broke
mask
that
off
window.
and give me your gun. I'm
Sir,
killing
why'd you break that
everybody
window?
on
Yeah, I
there.
got one in my pocket.
I'm killing everybody in that house, man. I'm killing everybody in that house, man. Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Give me that mask, man. Thank you.
Stay down, stay down.
Get up. I
Stay down.
Don't forget that. Yeah, he's got gloves. You thought he didn't have gloves on?
Jesus Christ, I pray, man. Let me go back. Give me them handcuffs, bro. No, give me the
I thought
mask.
you were so white
Give me
that
the
those
mask.
were your bare skin.
Give me the mask.
He's like, don't. I thought they
On
were
my
white too.
mama blood, they flipping over in her grave. I mean that. God bless y'all, man.
Stay on the
Let
ground.
me up. Get the behind me. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Scoop crazy.
Scoop
Crazy.
crazy.
Look at this big. Get the from behind me. I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. Them
You got handcuffs.
take this off my.
Nope.
I got it.
Stop spitting, man.
Look, get the away from me. I mean it. Give me that
No,
gun.
you're
I
gonna
mean
stay
it.
down. You're gonna stay
All right,
down.
all right,
Stay
all right.
down.
Take the off face.
No, I got him.
I
I got
mean
him. I'm already in it.
drag me, kill me. And Jesus good love me. My mama flipping over like crazy, man. So crazy. I mean it. I mean it.
Now, when I say got lynched, that was a full-fledged, ongoing murder. How did you sit here and not directly say the man is defenseless? Butt naked on the ground. He's cuffed up already. I mean, come on.
Well, at least we know who broke the window. I don't know. It's freezing out here. He's been out naked for 30 minutes.
He feels pretty cold. You want me to take his temperature?
He says he has corona. But he also... I don't know. Couldn't tell you anything. You good, man?
233. Where's he going? This east side town?
Fillmore and West.
It certainly isn't difficult to try to understand why people resent their tax money going to support other people's children And then you start to realize at some point that it takes a village sentiment has no choice but to turn into some kind of communist manifesto. As a child growing up surrounded by Italians, I remember thinking that Italians have bad tempers, generally speaking, compared to even my Irish friends who, I mean, everybody knows Irish have really bad tempers if you want to generalize, but you can't really generalize. But the problem is we're getting to a point where we're not allowed to just make an observation. Maybe, take it back, but you're not allowed to say things if somebody might take it the wrong way. That's insanity.
I just want to say, man, to all the young cats out there, and even the older ones, older than me, it's a lot more life to live out here, man. Your life, and not only just your life, your legs, something that you need to move around and move forward in life, could be taken from you like this, man. And I promise you, the type of shit that you will go through, staples, I got staples in my back, staples in my damn stomach. You do not want to have to deal with this shit, man. 24 hours, every 24 hours, it's pain, it's nothing but pain. It hurts to breathe, it hurts to sleep, it hurts to move from side to side, it hurts to eat.
How I went from a victim of police brutality to a defender of the cops 27 years later.
Okay, some of these police officers are our family and our friends. Okay, it took some of them to help a person like.
I know this. A 3-year-old child should never be asked, do you remember the day you got shot? No 3-year-old should ever be asked that question.
Do you remember that day?
Make everything easier for our people out here, man, because there's so much time that has been wasted.
The average person is too busy to notice that he might have put his foot in his mouth. Oh, they'll find deeper. The names of the rich kids and exploit that even with the headlines. Just the obvious, like, what about the girlfriend? What about Christine Blasey Ford and Senator Al Franken and this big Me Too thing? There's a sexual assault victim here, allegedly. So good luck finding her name. Good luck finding a photo.
A 5-year-old boy shot dead while riding his bicycle by his family's home on Sunday. Cannon Hinnant was playing with his 2 young sisters when police say a neighbor, Darius Sessoms, walked up to the boy and shot him in the head at close range.
I just want to say, man, to all the young cats out there, and even the older ones, older than me, it's a lot more life to live out here, man.
We're going to make some big changes that affect all the little Jakes. We're going to make some big changes that affect all the little Jakes.
We can stick together, make some money, make everything easier for our people out here, man, because there's so much time that has been wasted. Please, I'm telling you, change our lives out there. We can stick together, make some money, make everything easier for our people out here, man, because there's so much time that has been wasted.
Now they see how we feel when we have to worry about where we're going to live tomorrow. Because you can't even go downstairs and talk to Section 8 about giving us
Like, why you don't love us? That's the question we want to ask police. Why you don't love us?
And I think there's more to come on that story, too.
And there'd be more protests if people felt comfortable.
I find it really telling that she leaves out Elijah McCain.
And here you guys tell stories about black unarmed people that have been killed by police officers, and then a week later,
disproportionate numbers.
Absolutely, and then a week later you report that the police officer is back on the force. It's very traumatizing. It's very traumatizing for me.
I'm recently retired from the New York City Police Department. Once I retired about a year ago, I opened up my practice, which is called Human Development Services, a practice that specializes in the art of mindfulness. So essentially what I do is I train individuals to think differently with their mind. From the New York City Police Department.
Lots of people wonder, why isn't my story important enough to be told by the evening news? And then you realize when your story is actually like kind of worthy, there's still 1,000 more people experiencing something on that level, and they can't possibly cover everything, nor can the cops keep on top of all of the crime. To some degree, it's an illusion. When it's manipulation, when it's propaganda, it's not news. And people can't tell the difference anymore. Why isn't Rose McGowan interviewing Jacob Blake's girlfriend? What was that? Other than a couple of closest friends, I confided in someone I was working for, someone I went to high school with. I was their babysitter. About a year and a half after this happened, I got out of the city. Long story short, Michael picked me up, was driving over the dam, and I said, "Can I tell you something?" Because he just seemed like a good person to talk to about it, because I was struggling with it. And so I told him, and no great advice or anything, and I didn't feel any better. And as a matter of fact, I went ahead and babysat that evening, but the next day they left a message on my answering machine telling me that their sister Martha was going to take over, and things were just being reworked, and good luck, ciao, basically. It was very obvious that they felt like, they thought they knew me, but then that sort of thing doesn't happen to hippies from Croton-on-Hudson. And so people don't understand when, you believe someone does something because of your skin color. It's not so simple. And that's why it just really scares me that everything is being oversimplified and reduced to race, because it's absurd.
She has long brownish hair, green shirt, blue jeans. Very dangerous person. She just told me she's a very dangerous person.
Is it national news worthy of taking place of giant 164-foot wide craters collapsing in Siberia? The planet is literally crumbling before our eyes. And sure, a national news story for a couple of nights, but this movement is propaganda. And you could be attacked for even suggesting. It is strange that a little boy getting shot in the head by a neighbor is all but ignored. A couple of stations, I never saw anything about it on the news in New York.
97 people have been killed so far this year. That's according to Chicago's Tribune homicide tracker. That's already 145 more than last year.
But the real problem in America lies in handguns.
Their sanity. I'm not. Actually, I don't see what happened with that case. Getting shot in the back 7 times, it's a whole other thing. That was fucked up. But it's not an indication that 250 million people need to be lectured about
killed by police officers, and then a week later,
and even worse, so many people are being exploited. And I don't know, people would know what's at stake.
27 years ago, a cop gave me a concussion because I didn't have a subway token. She pushed me against the wall. I fell to the ground. She pulled my hair over my head and kneed me with her knee into my temple multiple times, left unconscious with a concussion.
Interviewing the
nobody cared then, and nobody cares now.
What's the answer to the question of when someone should call the cops?
So I wonder why there isn't some sort of legal prohibition against a nuisance call, calling the police for something that isn't a crime.
Right. That's a really good idea. Although we have to admit, the nature of criminal prosecution is intentional acts, and an awful lot of what we're talking about is ingrained bias. Right. It is prejudice that is breathed in and it just seems to express itself in these ways. But fundamentally, you are talking about a society in which there is an incredibly high level of suspicion and a willingness to subject someone who is other.
That's all you know how to do, you white people.
Yeah, and I do have to ask before we go to break back, Tim, because how much of this is also about gentrification?
The reason why I called police, yes, I said she might call police. Yes, I called first.
Because he called the authorities, he got his story in first. That's how you play these things, to try to get in as least trouble, the smallest amount of trouble possible. He knew how to play this because he called the authorities, he got his story in first.
Do we ask our police officers in general to do too much?
Yes, we do. No matter what happens, we immediately want to call the police to handle it.
A recent study found homicide is up 37% in 20 U.S. cities.
Literally, as a white person, if I were to complain or criticize someone for vomiting in the elevator, that's being a white person. It's literally that bad.
Errol Barnett looks at what may be behind the rise in all these homicides.
In New York City, homicides in the last month are up 50% compared to the same time last year, and 34% year to date, with 280 murders so far in 2020. Back in Chicago, Pastor Donovan is grappling with the most innocent victims of crime, children.
This what came out.
That's where the bullet exited her body, out of the front, and it entered through her back. Wow. On June 30th, Pastor Donovan was there minutes after 3-year-old Diana was shot in her back while playing outside her home. Diana survived, but no one has been arrested for her shooting. Deirdre Taylor is her mother. What would you say to people who hear about these shootings?
I would say, it's serious. It's no joke.
For CBS This Morning, Errol Barnett, New York.
Uneducated people are the ones that want to legislate behavior through a moment of passion and anger, lose touch. There used to be this print of the Bible when I was growing up that the word "word" was all over the cover, but nobody got it. Nobody got the simple concept that to take your time and choose your words very carefully, out of prayer, from a state of intense meditation, whatever you want to call it. Carefully choosing your words matters, because that's where the power is. Is it coming from a place where you are trying to manipulate someone into getting something from them? Yeah, it's powerful that way, but that's not the most powerful. And to kneel down to what is the most powerful is to be guided in the right direction, which is usually inwards, which is, I'm going out on a limb here, but the opposite of what I've seen in the Black communities, generally speaking, of course. You're not allowed to criticize, no matter how well-meaning.
Wrong thing. No fucking asshole. Do it again. You fucking bitch.
Or for the better, you may believe an observation it's considered something you might be punched in the face for.
That's all you know how to do, you white people.
Oh, that's what it is?
The picture you want.
That's what it is?
All the picture you want. Take the good part, the bad part, whatever you want.
It's because I'm white, right?
Yeah, you act like it. See, you're stupid. You're a racist.
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say that was racist?
You know what you said?
This is an anti-intellectualism. And wherever it popped up, wherever it first started, why is that so hard to recognize? Because that's where you have to start. It's important to communicate your words. And so at what point are people going to decide, oh, okay, well, we've evolved enough that we can forgive someone we're talking to who's not really saying it right, making sense, because technically, more than bullets, or what he meant to say was bullets penetrate more. No, I don't even remember what he said. But you want to be specific. There's a beauty to that. But that's considered very white. For whatever reason, and not with one or two people, this is generally perceived this way.
Lives get penetrated, and in this world, in this city, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution right now. There's no in between.
Yes, but isn't there in between? In fact, there is nothing but in between.
He can barely walk.
You dirty, poor white bitch. Now how you like that?
Say it again.
You cussed me out. You cussed me out for no reason.
No.
You bring that dog
I
right in front of us.
said he's dying.
What?
I said he's dying. Leave me alone.
Well, goddamn it, take him over there. Why bring
And what
him
did
in
you
front
call
of
me?
us?
And what did you...
And it is these empty, bumper sticker, cliche, pointless statements people make that are really just air filler.
Pastor Donovan said something very interesting there. It's more than a bullet that penetrates.
Actually, he said, quote, it's more than a bullet that gets penetrated.
It's important to know that more than a bullet gets penetrated.
Unquote, which technically doesn't make any sense, because you don't penetrate a bullet unless you're a bullet hitting a bullet, maybe. And this is the problem. People don't like to use their brains. And if you do, it's looked down upon. Meanwhile, shooting a child playing gangster is romanticized.
I know this. A 3-year-old child should never be asked, do you remember the day you got shot? No 3-year-old should ever be asked that question.
Is it really that complicated? It's actually called stupidity and misappropriated anger.
And from the local TV and radio stations across this country to get our message out. I know it saved lives. As important as honest and dispassionate news.
Corporate power in the form of CEOs and the Business Roundtable focus their energy on the United States Senate, first of all, and second of all, on the Financial Accounting Standards Board to change the rules for accounting for options. Warren Buffett, the great investor, testified about this and said it was the worst thing they could possibly do, but they had the votes. After that 1996 Senate vote, the pay of CEOs went up like a rocket because from that day on, a company did not have to charge against its earnings the options that it granted to executives, many of which went to the CEO. Now there is the clearest case that historians will look back on, and they will say that the American government was a branch of business.
Okay, some of these police officers are our family and our friends. Okay, it took some of them to help a person like me get clean and better myself, change my life around, because I was out here doing drugs and alcohol. Okay, let me tell you something. Let's get real. Let me go get my people from Mount Vernon, from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, and come up here and terrorize this town to let you see what it's going to be if you don't fix what you done damaged. Okay, because these brothers and sisters out here are doing very well. These kids are outstanding. They're not out here breaking in people's houses. They're not vandalizing your porch. They ain't beat up your kids yet. They ain't did nothing to do anything out of ordinary. Okay? These police have enough. You know what I'm saying? They have enough to deal with worrying about their jobs now. Now they see how we feel when we have to worry about where we're going to live tomorrow because you can't even go downstairs and talk to Section 8 about giving us
Montag is dead. A crime against society has been avenged.
They never showed the man's face properly. It was too far away, of course. Even your friends are bound to believe it. You're dead.
Yeah. Where you headed to in such a hurry?
If two black people killed a police officer, they would instantly become heroes.
Yeah. Where you headed to in such a hurry? I had you at 101 miles per hour. Yeah. So, what's the reason for that?
I think because of the relationship that black people have had with police officers over the course of time. Like, I don't think of black people thinking
they
of
would
police
become
officers.
heroes, you said.
I thought so. That just instantly sort of, that's what I thought.
Killed a cop and then took his gun.
I'm not a criminal.
You are now.
You are now. Lena Waithe joins us at the table. I want to get the backstory of how this came about, because you were having a conversation with James Frey, best-selling author.
Okay, so James Frey the same guy from Oprah's book club.
Gut-wrenching memoir that is raw and it's so real. Our next book is A Million Little Pieces.
So Oprah really makes it #1 on the bestsellers list, and then he's accused of lying.
So do you think you lied or you think I made a mistake?
I think probably both.
Most memorable moments of all time in between Michael Jackson and Tom Cruise jumping on the couch is now simply
James Fry, best-selling author.
Best-selling author. You barely catch that she's even mentioning his name. It all plays into the theme here, which is fiction, masquerading as news, and the line keeps getting blurrier.
Black people think
They would become heroes, you said.
I thought so. That just instantly that's what I thought.
We just talk about whatever the national conversation is right now. We don't, I don't set any agenda. It's whatever people are talking about. So, it's odd, it's strange. It's another thing on the list of bizarre.
Yeah.
On the bonfire of normality, throw another log on.
And Gail's like, don't forget about the jogger. Remember the jogger?
Yeah, I mean, that Ahmed Arbery case, too.
Honestly, it sounds like she's got a list.
And there'd be more protests if people felt comfortable being together in groups.
Exactly right.
If 2 black people killed a police officer, they would instantly become heroes.
Yeah.
And so to be clear, white people are not writing a check, though if any white person wants to write me a check, I'll give my Venmo after the talk. But reparations is about a societal debt, and it is paid by the government. It's not about punishing white Americans. Anybody want my Venmo?
But I know that we will be okay.
Anybody that is white, that is doing an investigation about a black young man, at this point, is not welcome.
Anybody want my Venmo?
I've been living in this bitch before you got here, you disrespectful ass.
How was Ahmad when people pushed up on him the wrong way?
Drug? How the fuck I'm drug take when I work at Blue Beacon?
Back up.
Check my shit.
Back
right?
up.
The fuck you talking about?
You
check
want to back
my
up?
Motherfucking shit. Bitch, you hit me.
Send me
with that
another
shit,
unit,
bitch, you gonna be
please.
fucked
Send me
up.
another unit.
There you had a brown cop and a white victim. I wonder if you switched it, how it would have gone.
What does justice look like?
The same thing that happened to Muhammad Noor. Free Muhammad Noor! Free that man right now!
Thank you, Benjamin. You're welcome.
As an artist, I don't know if it's my job to give people answers. It's my job to ask questions and to show us ourselves.
I got to ask you about what's going on your show. Two things. First of all, there were all these rumors that CBS was after Oprah to be on the show.
Andy, you know that's not true.
Right. I got to ask you this because I'm such a Charlie Rose fan.
Too.
Love the guy.
Me
been
too.
interviewed by him.
Me too.
How do you reconcile
and this happens, but I know that we will be okay.
The myths around black people being lynched, which were that black people were, sexual predators, and violent, was actually that black people were often accused of rape after consensual sex with a white woman.
Big trees are falling at CBS, but I really do believe that the company wants to and will get this right.
On the flip side, there have been countless times that I've wanted to talk to some of these men. Yeah, so it's a very complicated and complex issue.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's one of those things that I've realized that...
As an artist, I don't know if it's my job to give people answers. It's my job to ask questions and to show us ourselves.
So much built behind breaking that window that I totally agree with, because if I was in that situation, yes, I would probably want to break a window too, or break somebody's face with that brick, especially the person that's keeping me repressed in my neighborhood, that pushes me back into this economic slavery.
So that way we can sort of come to terms with who we are as a society.
As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
I think of it as protest art. I do believe it's open season on black bodies. And when I look at the news every day,
I think it's something that we've ignored for a long time, gangs. But the real problem in America lies in handguns.
Eric Adams is the Brooklyn Borough president and a former NYPD captain. He's calling for a multi-state gun task force to address the violence.
Is that a bumblebee?
Now my white friends are finally seeing it for themselves on video.
And up next, we explore the psychology behind why people call the cops when no crime is being committed.
And they're starting to understand that they can never understand.
Have no critical thinking on this topic.
It ain't my name, bitch. Going out. Why do I name like going out? Because you know, I told you I don't play games. I don't mess with you. But let me tell you.
No skills to navigate this uncomfortable conversation.
And we're hearing plenty of stories about everyday racism from the perspective of the Black experience.
Well, the fragility part is meant to capture how little it takes to cause white people to melt down in defensive-ness and umbrage.
You're a lying fucking bitch, and I'm gonna fuck you up.
I mean, we make it so miserable for Black people to talk to us.
Because you got nothing to do. You want a man, I'm gonna get your man. So hold on, run around the building.
About what they're experiencing from us, then most of the time they just don't. It's not worth it. It tends to get worse, not better. And so in that way, white fragility is quite powerful, and it protects the racial status quo.
Sneak around, get a man. Do something with your life. You don't need a dog for that. That's what you keep the fucking animals for, you crazy fool.
Are you serious? You sleep with your dog.
And that means Black people can't be their authentic selves with us.
Once the cops get here, they're like, oh, it's her again?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
We'll see when the cops get here.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say. I'll wait for them.
But for white Americans who are comfortable with the police, it seems like a problem. It seems like a solution to this person who shouldn't be here.
Yes, this is Regina Ortiz. My parents were to share the world.
Bitch, don't you ever talk to a motherfucking pimp like that, bitch. Disrespect a motherfucking man. Man, check your bitch.
And Tim, for a lot of Black people, the idea of the police is, quite frankly, intimidating, frightening. The idea of calling the cops on someone is sort of almost threatening, right?
Just call me. I'm gonna show you how to do it. No, just ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna show you how to do it.
Intimidating, frightening. The idea of calling the cops on someone is sort of almost threatening, right?
The one sitting on the stairs hit my door so hard it was like practically coming off. I had to hold it back.
Why people call the cops when no crime is being committed.
The reason why I call police, yes, I said she might call police. Yes, I call first. I call police first.
Don't snap.
No, see, y'all calling the police.
No.
She gonna call them on me, because I'm gonna knock her down.
And no emotional capacity to withstand how uncomfortable the conversation is.